What up, everybody? Welcome to another video of Jouhzu. And today is going to be a different video, a video that will prepare you for 2020. Because I'm going to give you the key lessons that I have learned from 2019 and mistakes that I have done that could have ruined me. And I want you guys to learn from my mistake because I want you guys to learn from my mistakes and have an easier life in a way, okay? It's funny because I've never really done a video. I've always done videos about how to make friends, but I've never really done a video on what friends to avoid. And I'm gonna do it today. But before I do, I'm gonna play the intro now. While I'm playing this intro, I want you to like this video because I'm getting way too few likes on my videos. Come on. The friends that you need to avoid at all costs. And I mean, I've done this mistake. I've done mistakes purposely and unpurposely, and both times I've regretted. The friends that you need to avoid are insecure people. Insecure people you have got to avoid. I've watched a video about it made by Lopez, and he actually addressed it, but it never really got into my head. I'm gonna post the video. I'm gonna post the video in the description below. But yeah, the way he explained it was not very clear because he never really gave real examples. But now where I've experienced it myself, I know what examples to give you guys so you can literally not make the mistakes to learn from it. So insecure people basically are people who don't feel like they're good enough, so they do anything possible to be better than other people. And this includes bringing other people down. So here are some characteristic traits of insecure people. Number one, their ego gets always the better of them. So rather than acting in situation rationally, the ego is dictating their behavior. For example, I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a guy in a group who has a choice between A and B, and B would serve the whole group as a whole, right? Whereas A would kind of like serve him more because it proves his self-worth and his status. And he chooses A instead of B, then he's insecure. He's basically a person who derives his self-worth from people outside. And the reason why you want to avoid those people is because they will throw you under the bus. Literally, they will throw you under the bus. And I'm not talking about low self-esteem people. You can be low self-esteem but secure. If you talk or work with a low self-esteem person but he's secure, and you starting to do really, really well, he's gonna feel low self-esteem because he hasn't done much. He's gonna, I haven't done much. Low self-esteem is kicking in, but he's secure. So as a result, because he's secure, he will reach out to you privately, right? But an insecure person, he will sabotage you. He will try to talk behind your back, trying to call the police on you. He will do different things to bring you down, so they start feeling better about themselves. Same with high self-esteem people and insecure people. In fact, they are the worst. They are the ones that are always trying to banter you, always kind of trying to make fun of you, always kind of like, jokingly bring you down, oh, it's just a joke, buddy, kind of thing. They're those ones, right? A lot of times those ones see you as a threat, right? For example, I went to a birthday party of a friend and I haven't seen the friend in a long time, so I went there for him, right? And other guys that were also there, they kind of like watch my YouTube and they see me speak Japanese. They see me do really well in different aspects of my life because previously I was not that well off, right? And throughout the parties, there were like little shots they would make, like they say, oh, Jouhzu, read this for me, please. He was showing me like Chinese characters instead of Japanese characters. So he kind of like trying to put me on a spot to kind of like read Chinese. And I was like, I can't read this. This is Chinese, buddy. And he says, oh, you pretend that you speak Japanese. And, like little shots like that. And it's kind of like undercover as, they kind of disguise it as jokingly. In fact, those people are not your friends. those people should not be your friends, right? Those people, you should stay far away from them, because it's their own self-worth. It's low. It starts off low. They are not happy with themselves, so they bring everybody down in order to make themselves feel good. You know, so basically those people you will recognize straight away if they try and impress other people all the time at somebody else's expense. If their ego kind of always gets the better of them, and if they have negative energy, if you just feel like drained. And that brings me to my second point, is only make friends with people who you want to be like. People who you want to be like. And the reason for that is, there's two reasons for that. Is one, because if you want to be like them, more than likely they share the same values and the same things that are important to you. So there's less conflict in the long run. You know, you won't have to assert yourself as much. You won't have to bring your point across as much, because you guys are flowing together. You guys go into the same direction, right? And the second reason for that is because if you choose people indiscriminately, you know, if you choose people just because you don't have many friends, and it's very tempting just to take everybody, because you take anything you can get because you don't have many friends, right? It's very tempting, but in the long term, you'll be worse off than when you are lonely. So I'll explain why. The problem with choosing people indiscriminately is because they will affect you. They will affect who you'll become. And the dangerous thing about it is, you won't notice. You will think you're becoming the person who you want to become. Let me give you an example, and I hate to say it, but my dad convinced me to stop traveling, even though I had enough money to continue traveling for a year or so. Those kind of people, insecure people, are very persuasive. They're very, persuasive because they're narcissistic, and they're very skilled at getting the things that they want. So my dad persuaded me to stop traveling, and ever since I'm here with him, he has kind of like polluted my mind a little bit, as in I'm less positive, I believe less in myself, and he kind of always trying to cheap shot me in like, oh, your YouTube is not working out, not enough people are watching you, you should quit, you should work for me. Kind of, he's trying to make me follow his course and quit my dream in a way. And I have noticed that in this whole year. I've not noticed it because, like that he's so charismatic and I love him because he's my dad and stuff. But that's the trap. And the only reason why I snapped out of it was because my friend who I met traveling, he came back to Germany and he met me and he says, dude, you changed, man. What happened? You're not as motivated. You're not as positive. You kind of like, you're not like that person that want to explore anymore. Like it is as if it has been beaten out of you. And that's when it dawned on me. Because it came from my own corner. And that's the dangerous part. Once you make friends who you don't want to become with, and your core values conflict, it's people in your own corner that will start kind of dragging you back to follow their course. It's not at your best interest, it's at their best interest. And if you start failing in life and start becoming depressed, they are the ones that will not help you and turn your back on them. I'm telling you right now. Always choose your friend. Before you decide to build a relationship with somebody, look at them and ask yourself honestly, do I want to be like him? And if the answer is yes, fair play. Befriend him, but still observe. I used to be very naive. It's a weakness and it's a strength, but I think it's more of a weakness in that particular scenario. I fail to see the negatives in people. I always try and see the good in people. In fact, I can't. And if somebody messes me up, instead of forgiving them, I forget. So I start off new. I was like, hey, buddy, and I forgive, but I also forget. So I'm trying to tell you guys. Befriend them. If you decide to befriend somebody and you want to be like them, befriend them and then observe them for a couple months, because a lot of people know how to put their best foot forward initially, and I wouldn't want you to fall for it. Especially girls do that really well. They do that actually very well. Put their best foot forward, and once you invested in them, were you too deep in to get out, then they show their true colors. So you want to kind of like observe from afar before you actually make friends. And let's say you have made somebody your friend, but you feel drained and you feel like you are sacrificing your own energy to make them feel better, but it's insufficient because you're making them feel better without them actually doing anything for themselves in the long run. So they're basically relying on you to consistently keep them better. You gotta cut that shit out. I'm telling you, man, you gotta cut that shit out, because they won't improve. You know, there's nothing wrong with helping people. If you, for example, have a friend who is usually really good for you, you know, but he happened to go through something tough, that's okay, because it's only short term. But if it's long term, if they've been like that before you actually met them, then it's not your responsibility to fix them, right? Because basically you sacrificing yourself. If there's one thing you get out of this video, don't burn yourself to keep others warm, because they more than likely wouldn't do the same for you, okay? It's good. I don't mind you helping people, but if it goes against your core values, then you will have a problem. And the last thing I want to point out, which is very difficult to understand, but hear me out. Friends who stagnate. You want to cut out friends who stagnate. What do I mean by that? I mean, don't be friends with someone. Don't keep being friends with somebody just because of your past, right? Because people always change, right? If you're a friend with somebody who did really well for you and you did really well for them as well, and later on you do really well in future and they stagnate, it's okay for you to try and help them. But if they don't put the effort in to actually get where you are, you got to cut them out, because they will drag you down. And this seems harsh initially, but the truth is not always pleasant, right? I'll give you an example. When it happened to me, I was stagnating and my friend was leveling up. I think I told you guys about my friend. He's a millionaire now and he did really well. And he took me to dinner one time and he said, Jouhzu, if by 10 years you're still working a 9-to-5 job and you're not successful, more than likely we won't be friends anymore. I was like, initially I got offended. I was like, why? Why would you say that? You know, we're good friends right now. I was like, because I only want successful friends. And at that point I thought I was so arrogant, you know? But because I was secure, I kind of reached out to him and said, look, okay, I want to be successful and I still want to be your friend. What do you want me to do? I don't know, start a business, do something, right? At the time, it did not feel good. It felt like as though he kicked me in the butt, you know, for being, you know, for sucking, you know. But guess what? The very next day, I started my very first business. I went to a park and started buying flowers and selling them for 3 times as the price, and I made a massive profit. I wanted to be like him, so I wanted to be like him, so I consciously made him my friend, and he kind of like talked down on me. And instead of actually taking it the wrong way, I was secure enough to actually take the advice on, right? And I too became a better person as a result of it. So we stayed friends. Do you understand what I'm saying? Imagine I was still a bum and smoking weed and not doing anything. He would see me and he would think, oh, I'm around him. I don't want to be affected by him. So I'm going to cut him loose and let him go. I'm not saying I'm successful, but I'm saying I've accomplished things that I wanted to accomplish and I have like big vision, right? So ever since I came back from travel, I realized that my old friends, instead of congratulating me and telling me how well I've done in terms of like traveling and doing YouTube and seeing the world and living my dream, they come and trying to guilt trip me by saying, oh, you think you're better than us now. Oh, you've forgotten about us. This one is really toxic. Oh, you have forgotten about us. Because the reason why this one is toxic, because it's so subtle, it slips under the radar. And in fact, whenever somebody says, oh, you have forgotten about us, I kind of start feeling guilty because I'm so empathetic. I'm trying to see their point of view, but they fail to see my point of view. So let's say, oh, somebody says, oh, you've forgotten about us. He's basically saying it. Basically, what he's saying is, don't make me feel bad about me failing to accomplishing things because we started at the same time. What a true friend would do instead is he would be happy for you and he would support whatever you're doing and reach out to you, you know, like silently, privately, because they will be secure, right? But whenever whenever you kind of like move ahead too far, whenever you start moving too far ahead of them, you know, they're kind of trying to guilt trip you to kind of like bring you back to where they are in order for them to not feel as bad. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's this one book, I think it's called Calm, and where the author stated, whenever you need somebody for a longer period of time, but all of a sudden you level up enough where you don't need them anymore, that person who kind of offered you the help will start feeling redundant. And if they're insecure, they will kind of try to sabotage you in such a way that you will start needing them again. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's like a power struggle. They want to be above you. But what a secure friend would do is he would think, oh, he's awesome. He doesn't need me anymore. He's self-sufficient. Let's be awesome together. Do you understand what I'm saying? But the minute they start trying to guilt trip you and pull you back just for them not to feel bad about their lack of accomplishments, you got to cut that out. Because no matter what you do, even if you're trying to advise them, even if you're trying to help them, it will come off as condescending, you know, because everybody sees themselves better as, you know, like it's a human nature, you know, you want to see yourself better as anybody else, right? And the minute somebody who used to be lower than you gives you advice or tries to help you and you are insecure, you will take it the wrong way and your ego will get the better of you and they will start sabotaging you. And that it won't be obvious, but it will kind of like be like little shots, you know, little shots. And if you're positive and if you're optimistic and if you're so naive, just like I am, then you won't see it coming until it's too late, right? Let me leave you with something that I learned from somebody from Fiji. I asked him, how is Fiji? And he said to me, people in Fiji, they don't like too much happiness because if you start doing well, you know, they will and they are drowning. They're just struggling. Let's say, imagine yourself being in a swimming pool. You're on top of the thingy where you jump from, and they are in the water, drowning, struggling to keep their head up. Right? You are if you're doing well, you're the person on top, and to the person who is drowning, struggling to make the ends meet, it looks like you're dancing, you know, because you're so happy and you're doing so well. You kind of like being condescending with your happiness while they are struggling. But the truth is, you are dancing. You appear as though you are dancing because you yourself are struggling to keep your position on top, to keep on leveling up, because it's really difficult on top. They don't understand it because they're still at the bottom at the water, right? But you're kind of like, instead of dancing, you're keeping your balance, you know, and you cannot go and help the person downstairs because you're not stable enough to drag them up. Because if you attempt to drag them up, you will inevitably also fall into the water. So keep that in mind. Whenever your friend stagnates, and instead of being happy for you for your accomplishments when you start, you know, doing well and not needing them anymore, right? And they start dragging you down, that is the cue where you kind of have to say, I gotta let you go. Seems harsh, but it's the absolute truth. Always trying to level up. And if you happen to be the toxic person, do something about it, because people wouldn't want to be around you, you know. But since you're already part of Team Jouhzu, I'm assuming you're always leveling up already. And this is just like a reminder. Don't make the same mistakes as I have. Don't be too nice. Don't be too naive. Help people, but don't compromise your own dignity and integrity. Never burn yourself to keep others warm. I'm out. Like this video, share it if it relates to you, and comment. Give me some comments down below, because I want to know whether you agree or disagree, because this is the hard truth that I have learned, and I don't want you to make the mistakes that I've done. I want you guys to learn from my mistakes. Let me be an example, you know, for the mistakes to come, right? You know, I really care about you guys, and that's why I'm actually so honest. I'm willing to risk like any hate that I might get from this video, just to be able to help you guys. So like this video, because I'm gonna get a lot of heat. I'm out next week.